Nothing that a cookie can't fix, huh? This is fantastic. We get to eat cookies. Hello everybody, I'm Vaughn and welcome to Bake Time, the show where we bake things. Today is actually extra special bake time. It is really brought to you by, oh, what's that? Oh my God. I thought she was calling to me. Cookies the book. Oh my goodness. It's officially out. Cookies, the book written by me. It is a New York Times cookbook, and it is a collection of about 100 different cookies from our archive. But why are we here today and why am I talking about this? Well, there is one cookie that I developed specifically for this cookbook, and that is the salted butterscotch chocolate chunk cookies. Basically a brown butter toffee chocolate chunk cookie with two different types of chocolate, both dark chocolate and milk chocolate, and wow, expletive, it is very good. I think one of my favorite things about this recipe is the homemade toffee. The recipe calls for store-bought or homemade toffee, but please make homemade toffee. It's gonna be so much more delicious. I'm gonna start with dark brown sugar, and then just to kind of get that going a little bit, I've got just a couple tablespoons of water, and then I've got some salted butter here. Now, I rarely call for salted butter in recipes, but I think there's something about the salted butter in this toffee, especially, that creates just a really evenly seasoned toffee. This cookie is born of probably like 5 years of just experimentation, love for cookies. If you go back to Cooking the Commons and watch that video, which you should, it's still a really fun video. That was a big journey about like the science behind the chocolate chip cookie. I mean, if I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of already had this recipe kind of figured out, but I was really happy to be able to also, just for my own personal benefit, experience like what different types of sugar, what different types of flour, what different resting periods and all that stuff did to a cookie. And I learned so much about what all the component parts of a chocolate chip cookie add to it, because a lot of chocolate chip cookie recipes out there are basically the same ingredients, just kind of employed in different or like kind of different ways, right? Now you can see here, I do have a candy thermometer. If you don't have a candy thermometer or an instant read, don't worry, it'll be fine. There will be like pretty visible things you can look out for. You really wanna make sure that everything in this pot is the same temperature. When you do have a pot like this, I always make sure to kind of go around that 90-degree edge, because little pockets like to get stuck in there and they like to ruin it for the rest of everything. And now I can stop stirring so vigorously. And I'm gonna just like swirl it occasionally, even just like letting it sit. I know where my hot spots are. Right here is where I started to bubble first. So I wanna make sure to like swirl and move my pot around too, to make sure that the heat's pretty even. I'm swirling rather than stirring, because I don't want too terribly much agitation in here as it's like reducing down and becoming candy. Basically the bubbles will start to slow down a little bit. They're kind of rapid right now. It looks like lava and it'll be slower lava when it's done. The bubbles have started to slow and you can see these wisps, these kind of puffs of smoke and steam escaping. And I'm just gonna let it cook until it reaches 290. Okay, wow, this looks good and smells very good. I'm just gonna set this aside for about 5 minutes. It cools and hardens actually pretty quickly. And then I'll chop it up and put it with the chocolate chunks that I'm gonna fold into it. But for now, I think it's ready to make some cookie dough. All right, so this dough is like dead simple. I wanted it to be able to be made with a hand mixer, a stand mixer, or by hand, which is what you'll see me do today. First, just go ahead and get my dry ingredients out of the way. So I've got just all-purpose flour here, a little bit of baking powder, a little bit of baking soda, and I'm just gonna whisk that together. And this would not be a butterscotchy cookie without the flavor of butterscotch, which obviously is gonna come in our toffee, but also it is going to come in our brown butter. just like I did with the toffee, melt this and kind of swirl fairly constantly. Once you get to a certain part, you really have to pay attention. So when I get to this little foamy stage here, a lot of the bubbles have started to subside. This is when we are at brown butter. To make up for the moisture loss that I had, I'm adding ice cubes back in there, but also to stop the cooking. Okay, well, it smells fantastic. In order to kind of figure out how much ice I need to add back in there, I did add a few cubes in there because I felt like, especially with 2.5 sticks of butter, that's like a pretty big quantity of butter. But I like to always measure it and see if I'm getting about the same amount of liquid brown butter as I would have had solid sticks of butter. So I should have about 1.25 cups after adding ice cubes back in. I like to use dark brown sugar because it's got just like a deeper, more molassesy flavor that kind of enhances the toffee as well. I'm gonna add to this the brown butter, and then I'm just gonna mix these two together. And it should almost kind of look like our toffee did at one point. I'm going to add eggs one at a time. Wow, it smells good. Now, I'm gonna add the dry ingredients. So I like to start in the middle with kind of like small, fast concentric circles. I go around the edges to make sure that I'm incorporating all of that flour in there. Now at this point, like, there are some very clearly defined pockets of flour in this cookie dough, which is totally fine because we have to mix in our mix-ins. Now that my toffee has sufficiently cooled, I'm going to just break this up into probably about similar sized chunks as the chocolate that we have here. Oh, that is dreamy. Oh, it's like shards of glass. So, salted butterscotch, double chocolate chunk cookies. I like to take just about all of them, but not quite all of them. I'll reserve maybe like 1/4 cup of each the chocolate chunks and the toffee. So you can see here, I've got like big pockets of flour there. That will work itself out after I mix all this in. This is a little smaller than I'm looking for. I almost brought my scoop from home, but it'll be fine because I can kind of overfill it and I feel like I know what I'm looking for in this cookie. At home, when I'm making cookies, I like really rarely ever get the designated yield because I eat so much cookie dough. So I've got my beautiful 20 cookies out here. And then I'm basically just gonna like come through and press in some of this reserved chocolate. And this will cause a really beautiful bake. And sometimes I'll put toffee bits. Now the toffee bits do spread quite a bit, but they are really pretty to see on the top. All right, so I'm covering these cookies to go into the refrigerator for a little nap. It really just gives the dough, a chance to relax. The flavors enhance and deepen and get to know each other. It doesn't have to be a full 24 hours. Listen, take a load off. 6 hours, it's enough time to like listen to an audiobook or binge a show. These look fantastic. You know, even just like noticeably looking at them, they're darker in color. I think that the color is like even deepened in the refrigerator, which is really cool. Okay, think the cookies are ready. I can smell them. They smell fabulous. Oh my God, they look so good. Oh my goodness, they are so pretty. I mean, I think they're kind of perfect just the way they are, but if you're fussy, you can take a ring mold. It's still malleable at this stage. So what I like to do is I like to use the ring mold and kind of swirl it around like that. And you get these like very circular cookies, which I love. Very, very picture perfect, starring Tyra Banks. Okay, oh, these look so pretty. So the last thing I'm gonna do before I let them cool a little bit longer on the tray is to top them with some flaky salt. I like to do this step when they're like warm from the oven just because those like puddles of chocolate will cling on to this flaky sea salt quite well. And I'm excited to eat these, but I am gonna let them cool down for about like 5-ish more minutes. They've been on there for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to just transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. This is a moment for the vlog. Okay, warm cookies from the oven. Adam, is a chocolate chip cookie best enjoyed warm?
Yes.
1,000% yes.
Yes, Caleb, yes? 10,000% yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, oh my God. Maybe I'm just saying it to be a little but I kind of like a room temperature chocolate chip cookie. I don't know, I actually like them in all their forms. I don't know if it depends on the mood. It depends on the mood. Oh my God, I just don't think I can contain my excitement anymore. I think I'm gonna go for this one. That is like a very good cookie. You've got like the butterscotchy notes of the brown butter and the toffee, but then you have that like really rich dark chocolate. They're almost like puddles of chocolate. And when you break it open, it's like layers, almost like laminated with chocolate. And then you get that crunch factor from the homemade toffee. I love that I was able to bring it to my first book. There's probably a link somewhere below to buy the book, to sign up for the newsletter. And of course, this recipe will be on NYT Cooking. So I just gotta shout out these folks right here. It was so fun, like seeing your posts and reading your DMs and, you know, sometimes even troubleshooting with you in real time. If you wanna see your name in lights, you better get with it, honey, and tag me on Instagram. That's all for now. See you next time.